Welcome to So Very Easy. My name is Laura, and let's take 12 fat quarters and let's make a quilt. So the bundle of fat quarters I'm going to use today is from Timeless Treasures. It has these beautiful flowers on it, and what I really like is the little accent of butterflies. So I'm going to take all of these colors and I'm going to make a quilt, and I'm going to use this basic white. And it matches perfect with all the colors. And I'm going to take these colors and I'm going to mix and match them, making the same block but in different color combinations. So I can get many different color combinations just mixing and matching all of those fat quarters. This block is very easy to make, and it's fun when you mix it all up. However, you could make all the blocks identical if you just want to use yardage. Let me go through the fabrics that you're going to need for one block. And depending on how many blocks you want to make will depend on how much fabric you're going to need. The one center is a 2.5 inch square, which means all of the other components are all going to go around that measurement. One 2.5 inch square. For the green, you need 4 2.5 inch squares. And for the print, you're going to need 8 2.5 inch squares. Those 8 are going to give you your points plus the 4 in the center. The soft white, 4 2.5 inch squares for each corner, and 4 strips of fabric, 2.5 inches by 6.5 inches. And that's going to give you one complete block. The center of this block is a 9 patch. So you're going to need 9 patches. The light in the center, your 4 floral, and your solid colors. Just put them together. When the 3 patches are together, you can sew those together in rows. I would take that center block and press it so the seam goes out. Then those 2 seams will be able to go in. And that's going to nestle those corners and keep it nice and straight. When those rows are sewn together, I would press the seams going out. The next is going to make this outside border, and it's going to be this piece here we need to work on next. And those are going to be made with the 2.5 inches by 6.5 inches, and they are going to match up to this side. So the first thing we need to do is draw lines on the back of our little 2.5 inch squares. So you'll need 2 squares to go with that rectangle. You'll need to place those right on the corner, so that the line is coming from the corner towards the center on both areas. So you're going to have a small piece and a large piece. Match up those seams and sew directly on that line. And after you've stitched those down, if you take that and push it right into the corner, you should not see any extra fabric hanging on the outside, because this is only covering those corners. It's not making the block bigger or smaller. Once you know those match perfect, you're going to be able to cut off this corner. Now I still have a piece 2.5 inches by 6.5 inches. I need to do that to all 4 of those pieces. Once you've sewn the one corner on, make sure that you do sew going in the opposite end. So you're going to be sewing this way. When it opens up, you'll have one side small, one side big. If you sew the other way and go on the other angle, you're going to end up with a long, thin piece. So just make sure you're going in the right angle. You now have 4 of these units made. And on 2 of them, you're going to add the little white corners. So you'll have 2 without corners and 2 with corners. Now we can finish constructing the block. Start with the 2 pieces that do not have the corners. And with that small part on the white, it's going to face inside the block. And you'll be able to put it on the 2 opposing ends. If you have it turned around the other way, you're going to end up with a different shape and you won't have those little points going in the right direction. Match up those seams and stitch down. And when those 2 are stitched on, you can already see the start of that block. You will now be able to put those 2 pieces on that have those ends attached. Again, make sure that that smallest part of the white is going towards the block. And you will be able to match up those seams and stitch a 1/4 inch down on both sides. When the last 2 borders are done, you're going to be able to press them. The block is done and it equals 10.5 inches, which means when it's sewn together, it will be a finished 10-inch block. And what we're going to do is we are going to sew these blocks together with big rows of sashing. And we're going to duplicate the center of this block and have 9 patches in the corner. I'm going to make those 9 patches the same. All 6 of them are going to be the same. So I'm going to be able to strip piece them together. I'm going to have one unit with the dark in the center, the light on the outside, and a second unit which is opposite, light in the center and dark on the outside. If you take the seams and you press them towards the dark, you will be able to nestle these together and cut them all at the same time. Because the seams are opposite and yet the fabric strips are the same size, you're going to be able to put them together and you're going to be able to feel right along this edge if they're matched up or not. If one piece is overlapping, you're going to be able to feel that it's not flat and you'll be able to feel if there's actually a space there. So you're going to be able to lie that together on your cutting mat. You'll straighten up the one edge and then cut 2.5 inch segments, and you're going to be cutting both strips at the same time. This saves time because your strips are together, so you only have to cut once, and the strips are going to be together, so you're going to be able to just pick them up and sew them together. You will need to start with 6 of these little sets together and sew a 1/4 inch. I now will have 6 pieces that look like this. I still will need to add 1 more strip set on. And from here, you can decide on how you want this block. Do you want it so that the light one is in the center, or do you want it so that the dark is in the center? And in this case, because I've had the light in the center, I'm going to continue that theme and keep the light in the center. So I will need to make another strip set to go on the other side that will look like this. But if you want the dark in the center, you'll need to do it that way. I now have 6 9-patch blocks, and this block is 6.5 inches. We need to now cut the sashing that's going to go between the blocks. You are going to need 17 big sashings, 10.5 inches by 6.5 inches. These blocks are 6.5 inches. Those are 10.5 inches. And this is all we're going to need for the body of the quilt. So the first row is going to have 3 large blocks with a sashing in between. The next row, take your little 9 patches and just lie them right there at the end of that sashing. So you will have 2. Then fill in those spots with sashing again. And this is pretty big sashing. It's going to make this quilt go together very, very fast. And this is how the entire quilt is going to be laid out. You're going to have 3 of your blocks, 2 of the sashing, 3 of the large blocks, those big sashing pieces in between. Then the next row is going to look like this. So just take all of the blocks and lay them out so you like the arrangement of your large blocks. You're going to have 4 of these rows, and you're going to have 3 of these. If you don't want to add that big sashing, you can make a quilt just with the blocks that you have by sewing them together, and it still will make a really nice quilt. I would recommend that when you sew these rows and the sashing together, that the seams for the block, the star block, go out in both directions. And by doing that, you're going to be able to maintain those nice little points. And when it's all sewn together, we're going to put on a border on both sides and the top and the bottom. I'm going to put a 4.5 inch border, and I'm going to put it on the top first, and that way I won't have to piece one of the borders. And my top piece is 42.5 inches. When the top and bottom border has been added on, the side borders should equal 66.5 inches, and again, cut them at 4.5 inches. Now, if you're happy with it, the quilt could be done at this point. But I'm looking at all of this extra beautiful fabric and I'm thinking a nice checkered border all the way around would look really cute. So I'm going to cut this all into 2.5 inch pieces and sew all the 2.5 inch pieces together and put it all the way around so that all of the colors are random. Just sew those 2.5-inch squares together into long strips and then sew those strips around the border. I was able to do it twice, so I've got a double checkered border for this quilt. Additional, I added a big 4.5-inch white border. Now it's ready to be quilted. And if you're going to follow along and make this quilt, you are going to need to start with 5 yards of fabric. That will accommodate that nice big border plus some binding. This is a pretty quilt and it would look lovely in many, many different fabrics. I do hope you give it a try. Thank you for joining me today on Sew Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe, and as always, come on back. Let's see what we're sewing next time in the sewing room. Bye for now.